Okay, so welcome back. We now look at topic number 4. Topic number 4 is going to be about hyperlinks. Hyperlinks. Hyperlinks are very important. They're very important in web design because you cannot have a website without hyperlinks. Hyperlinks enable you to link up the different pages in your website. They also allow you to link up to other web pages on other websites. So that's why hyperlinks are important and you must use them. Normally, we use the anchor element to create hyperlinks. So you're going to learn how to use them. You're going to learn the difference between relative and absolute URLs and what a URL is, in-page hyperlinks. And you're also going to look at HTML5 nav element. We're also going to see how you can be able to format hyperlinks using CSS and how to create accessible hyperlinks. By the end of this chapter, you should be able to. What is the name of that lady that just told me to record? Please read for us the objectives of this topic.
The objectives of this topic are to link different web pages together using the anchor element, to specific parts of a web page using the anchor element, use CSS to style hyperlinks, explain how disabled users navigate websites, and discuss strategies for making hyperlinks accessible to both disabled and devices users.
Okay, wonderful. Now, hyperlinks is a key feature of the web. It allows users to surf the web. There's only one element responsible for creating hyperlinks. That element is called the anchor element and is normally written using that particular tag, the A tag. Now, the anchor element specifies the enclosed content in a hyperlink. So by enclosed we mean we'll normally have the opening and the closing tag. So whatever content is in between the opening and the closing tag is going to be a hyperlink. Hyperlink in browsers are normally underlined, and the default formatting again, normally you'll have it as a color blue or something. So that's the default, and it's normally underlined. Now, the href attribute is used to specify the URL. So in the anchor element, we have one compulsory attribute. It's called href. The value of the href attribute is the URL. URL is simply the address of the page that you want to link to. So when that particular person clicks on this content, then it takes them to this particular page. So that is what we call the href attribute, and that is what is used for. Now, what is a URL? Uniform Resource Locator. Uniform Resource Locator. URL is the address of a resource and how it can be retrieved. They specify the location of the document on the web to which we want to create a link to. We have two types of URLs, absolute and relative URLs. So what's the difference? Now, the absolute URL is used to link you up to an external website. These are the parts of an absolute URL. The parts of an absolute URL includes the protocol. So the protocol HTTP is used to specify the mechanism that is going to be used to transfer that web page over the internet. So that's the protocol part. The next part, of course, is the domain name. The domain name is used to specify the server, the web server that is storing that particular web page that you want. Then, in the web server, we have a path. So, for example, in that web server, you have a folder called About Us, and in the folder called About Us, you have a HTML page called index.html. So that is the path to this particular web page that is going to be loaded. So those are the three main parts really of a URL: the protocol part, the domain part, and the path. So you should be able to explain that. Okay, so as I said, absolute URLs are used when linking web pages in a separate website. So they're often also referred to as external hyperlinks, uh, because they link us to a website on a different web server. On a different web server. Okay, the other type of URL is called relative URLs. A relative URL is used to describe the location of a document relative to the current document's location. So they are also called internal hyperlinks because they are used to link pages together in the same website. So that is what we call a relative URL. Relative URL. Now, normally, this will be the structure of your website. You have the root folder. Normally, for organization, we put similar web pages on the same folder. We group similar web pages on the same folder. So, for example, you'll have the root folder that contains all the documents of your website. But you'll also have, for example, a folder called careers, a folder called news, a folder called about. So these folders will host specific web pages that relate to that particular group. So for example, under careers we have locations.html, benefits, culture. Under news we have media, we have press. Under about we have contact us, we have our values. We also have another folder under about called investors. And under this investors folder we have financial.html and annual reports.html. On the other hand, inside the root, we have a web page called index.html. Now, how can we create a hyperlink in the page culture.html that links to the page locations.html? How can we create this hyperlink using the anchor element? So let's have a look at that so that you can be able to understand this. This is a very common question in the exam. You will get this in the exam. And definitely in your website project, you'll need to understand this in order to be able to link up the different web pages together in your website, especially on the main menu. So we are on this page, locations.html. We want to create a hyperlink that when clicked from this page is going to take you to this page, culture.html. So how to do that? Now, whenever pages are on the same folder, then you don't have to do much. Inside the anchor element on the href attribute, then you simply write the name of that page. So locations and the extension .html. So when this particular content is clicked, it's going to take you. Remember, oh, sorry, I actually reversed this. I'm sorry. We were supposed to be here, culture. We are here, and now we want to click and go here. So that is the position. So as I was saying, if we are in culture.html, then the href attribute will have the value locations.html. Then you can have some text here. This text does not have to be the same as the value here. It can be anything else. Even now they're not the same really. So this is the name of the web page you want to go to and the extension. So it is very easy to create a relative URLs if the pages are on the same folder. Okay, let's look at some other examples. Here we want to look at an example where the pages are not on the same folder. So here we want to create a hyperlink in the page contact us. This one. We want to create a hyperlink here that when clicked will load financial.html. Financial is here. So you can see that they're not on the same folder per se, because contactors is in the about folder, while a financial.html is in the investors folder. So how to create a link from here that will take you here? How do you do that? So to do that, on the href attribute, you have to begin by writing the name of the folder. So we have to go here first. We have to go here first. Then after there, we go here. After there, we go here. So to do that, we write the name of the folder, then a forward slash, then the name of the page that we want to access on that folder. So remember that the name of the folder, then forward slash, then the name of the web page that we want to access. And therefore, if this is clicked, it's gonna from here it's gonna load this web page, financial.html. Another example is we want to create a hyperlink in the page media.html, this one. So you want to create a hyperlink that when clicked will load index.html. Index.html is here. So you can see index.html is in the root folder. Media is on the news folder. So how to reach here? We have to first of all get out of the news. We have to get out of the news folder. How do we get out from the news folder? By using two dots. So two dots, then forward slash. So when you use two dots, we exit from that folder. So now we are in the root folder. Is index.html in the root folder? Yes. So the next thing we write is the name and extension of this particular index folder. So that's how we get out. So this particular link, when clicked from the media.html page, it's gonna load the index.html page. So when you click on home, it's gonna load index.html. So that's how you get out of the folder. So I hope you understand that. Okay. Another example here. We want to do what? We want to create a hyperlink here on benefits.html that when clicked will load press.html. As you might already have guessed, we need to first of all get out of the careers folder. When you get out of the careers folder, we need to get into the news folder and into the press. So to get out of the careers folder, we use the two dots, then forward slash. To get into the news folder, we use news. Then forward slash. To load press.html, we write press.html like that. And therefore, when you click this content, press releases from this web page, then it's gonna load press.html. Okay. Okay. So here maybe I can give a task. Okay? So on the comments, please, I want you to write the href value. The href value. So this is the href value. So I want you to write the href value if you are on this folder. You're on this folder. And you want to create a link that when clicked will load this particular page. So let me see. Let me see what you write. So I said you're on media. You want to click a link that will take you to annual reports. Okay, so of course I need to show you this. Okay, Vincent, that is wrong. What do you think your mistake is? Sorry. Yes. Mute.
You are now muted. You are now unmuted. You are now muted.
Hmm. This one here. So just click here. Yeah, no, skuma, skuma. Hello? Just a moment. Yes. Wrong number, wrong number.
You are now unmuted.
Okay, so thank you very much for your input. Thank you very much. I can see most of you are getting it correctly. Very good, very good, very good. Very good. So, of course, I had mentioned that earlier Vincent was wrong. I'm glad that he has been able to find his mistake. So, if you make a spelling mistake, the hyperlink is not going to work. So, it has to be the exact one. It has to be the exact one. So, this is very impressive. I'm glad that you guys are getting this. Let me give you another one. You are on financial. You are here. You are on financial.html. You want to create a hyperlink that will get you to culture.html. So what is the value of the href? What is the URL? What is the URL for the href attribute? Okay, so right. Let me see. Okay, good. Wonderful. Waiting for a few more. Okay. Amazing stuff. You're doing quite well. So that is correct. That is correct. If anyone does not understand how these answers come about, please let me know so that I can explain. Anyone who does not understand how we are getting to this answer? I don't understand, David. What is it that you do not understand, David? In particular? Okay. I'm waiting for David to finish typing, then we can move on. The first part that is being left out before the careers folder. Okay. Okay, so let's do it. Let's do this together. Okay, just a moment.
You are now muted.
Kuna links zenye nilikutumia hapo. Kwa hiyo email. Hebu read your email, iko na links.
You are now unmuted.
Okay, we can proceed. So let me show David how this is done. So we are here. We want to create a link that when clicked here will load this page. So to do that, we need to get out of the investors. Folder. So how do we get out? We get out from a folder by doing that. So that's how we get out. So next we need to get out of the about folder. So how do we get out from the above folder? Again, we do ... like that. Then from there, we need to get into the careers folder. How do we get into the careers folder? By typing the name, careers, then /. Then after that, we need to load this page, cultures. So how do we do that? By typing the name and the extension of that page. So culture.html. Okay. So that's how we do it. Okay, so let's move on and look at some file naming conventions. A convention is an agreed way of doing things in programming, as I had mentioned earlier. So how do you name your HTML pages, your CSS pages? How do you name them when you're saving them? How do you do that? So some of these naming conventions just apply to the rules of naming identifiers in programming. So one of them is you cannot use spaces in file names. You also cannot use special characters while naming files. So you can actually see here we don't have space. All these file names we don't have space. In case we need to separate two words, we do it using an underscore. You can see no space and no special character. Okay, but we can use letters, we can use numbers, we can use underscores and hyphens. Can also use hyphens. The other thing is that we need to use the file name extension consistently. With HTML pages, we can either use .htm or .html. Whichever you pick, use it for all the pages. The other convention is that use all lowercase letters, because web servers, some of them are case sensitive. So just use lowercase letters while naming, and you can see all these lowercase, all these HTML files. The other one, do not use keep file names short. You make it easier to remember, and you can actually see from that example. Benefits, all those, they're very short and to the point. Then place related files into subdirectories. A directory is just a folder. So this ensures that your site is well organized. Then name the home page index.html. Please remember this, especially for the sake of your project. Or if you're using .htm, then you can use this. So normally, servers are configured to look for and load this page, index.html. They are configured to look for it in the root folder, to look for this and load it as the first page that users will view when they land into your website. So for example, when you type www.mmu.ac.ke, that first page that is loaded, it is loaded because it has been named index.html. So this is the default page. It's also called the landing page or the home page. So that's why you should name at least one page on your root folder or root directory. You should name it index.html. So I'll be expecting that you name your home page or your landing page index.html or .htm. So don't forget that. Now, another interesting bit about hyperlinks is what we call the in-page hyperlinks. In-page hyperlinks allows us to link to a different point in the same document. So user does not have to scroll to view the content. They can just click and they are taken there. Now, the destination element needs to feature an ID. Needs to feature an ID attribute. The ID attribute uniquely identifies an element. One of the main applications of this is go to the top. Have you ever scrolled down to the bottom of a website page? Then you have the link, click to go to the top. And when you click on it, it automatically goes to the top. So that instead of scrolling bit by bit, the page will simply auto-scroll and go to the very top of the page. So how is that achieved? That is achieved by doing this. For example, at the very top you have a heading 2. Then you say that it has an attribute ID with the value cells. So what happens is this. When you're creating the go to the top link, then you use the anchor element href, then the value of the href, hashtag cells. Then here you enter, for example, go to the top. This is the content. So when people click this sales and marketing, wherever they are from the page, it's gonna scroll to this heading and make that particular heading appear on top of the page. So that is how we do it. That is how we manage to do it. You might also have seen a common trend of the one-page websites where a person clicks on About and it simply scrolls up and reveals the About Us. You click on Gallery, it scrolls up and reveals the gallery. So again, such kind of one-page websites, they use the in-page hyperlinks to be able to do that. On a particular element, you simply include the ID attribute and a particular value. Then where you want to click and it reveals that, you enter the href as hashtag and that value of the ID, as you can see in this particular example. Now, we can link to a specific point in a separate page by adding a hashtag mark at the end of the URL. So for example, you can say, yes, you want to load this hyperlink, this anchor element. The href value is you want to load this page, businessadvice.html. But on that page, you want to go to the specific heading number 2, which is talking about sales. So how to do that? You do, after businessadvice.html, you enter hashtag sales. So when a person clicks on this, sales and marketing, it's going to load this page and scroll to this point where we have the H2 with the ID value cells. So very interesting stuff there. Okay, and then we have the title attribute that is used in the anchor element. So here is the title attribute. The title attribute is used to describe the content that will be linked. Describe the content that will be linked. So the browser will display what we call a tooltip. So if you want to give more information about the content that is gonna be displayed when that link is clicked. Then you use the title attribute. So if a user hovers, if they hover over this hyperlink, then it's going to display a tooltip reading, read our press releases. So that's what the title attribute is used for. So the title attribute is not visible by default. It should be used to provide additional information. Important information should not be hidden in a title attribute. That means that if the information is very important, then it should be part of the content here. It should be part of the content. Hyperlinks and valid documents. It is recommended that the anchor element is nested inside a block level element. So you can see here we've just used a hyperlink after closing this paragraph. So we've not enclosed this hyperlink in any block level element. So that is not correct, invalid. Otherwise, if we want to include a hyperlink somewhere, we need to nest it inside the paragraph, like what we are doing here. So this is valid. HTML5. In HTML5, links can be wrapped around block level elements. So this was not possible earlier. So that means that you can be able to make an entire paragraph, for example, a hyperlink. Okay, so now let's look at hyperlinks and list elements. So it is common. It is common to structure a collection of hyperlinks as a list. Each link is nested inside an LI element. So here we have an ordered list. It's beginning here, it's ending here. Now we've nested several list items inside this unordered list, and the content of this LI is a hyperlink and some content here. So you can see the first one is careers, then news, then about, then contact us, and the href value is different for each one of them. So when you click on news, it's going to load news.html. It's going to load news.html. When you click on about, it's going to load that, and so on and so forth. So normally we use lists. We use lists to structure hyperlinks, as you're going to see. Now HTML5 also introduced another element called the nav element. The nav element is used for grouping together hyperlinks. So the list that we were using to do these links, we can use the nav element to enclose them. So for example, this is a side menu or a top menu. So we just enclose it inside the nav element. Now, this is used for grouping major navigation blocks. So as I said, is it a top menu? Is it a side menu? They provide assistance to screen readers. Okay, so CSS for hyperlinks. CSS provides a number of pseudo classes. The pseudo classes allow us to select elements using factors not present in the HTML of a document. Such elements include visited, hover, and active. So they allow us to style hyperlinks based on the state of the hyperlink. For example, the visited element is used to show a hyperlink that has already been clicked, has already been visited earlier. So just like on Google, for example, if you've ever visited a certain link, then the color is different, maybe dark. Is it purple or something? I can't remember. Then hover. Hover is when you take your mouse cursor over the hyperlink, what do you want it to do? So that is hover. Cursor is over the link. Active is when you are clicking. When you are clicking on that link. When you're clicking on that link. So that's what we call active. Okay, so for example, you can format your hyperlinks this way. For all anchor elements, we want the background color to be red. Otherwise, when you have visited a particular hyperlink, we want the background color to be yellow. When you're hovering over a hyperlink, we want the background color to be blue. When you're clicking on the hyperlink, we want the background color to be green. We want the background color to be green. So pseudo classes in hyperlinks are used to create rollover effects for links. Please note that the pseudo classes must appear. They must appear in the order specified above in order for them to work correctly. What does that mean? That means that you have to start by formatting the general hyperlink, then visited, then hover, then active. So you can't start with active, then the general hyperlink, then hover, and then visited. No, they have to appear in this exact order. The general hyperlink, then when you're visited, then hover, then active. So don't forget that. Okay, accessibility and hyperlinks. So many disabled people surf the web using the keyboard rather than the mouse. So they normally use the tab and enter keys to click on certain links. Now, the link text number one should be understandable out of context. So a bad example is when you write, click here for more information. A good example is when they can make sense out of that link from the word go. So they see product information. I need to know about the product information. So they use the tab, press the tab, then it gets them there, and they press enter to click it. Okay, so let me just show an example of that. So even on this site, for example, right now I think this one is selected or something. If I press tab, are you seeing it goes to the next link? It goes to the next link. If I want it to go back to public chat, I can press shift tab. It will go back there. If I want to go next, shared, next, it goes to manage users, like that. Where did it go to next? Or it has gone to the address bar. It has gone there. So you can see that as I press tab, it moves from different. And now this is what you call a tooltip. Are you seeing this? Make screen share full screen. If I press tab again, where does it go? It goes here. Actions. If I press tab, it goes here. If I press tab, it goes there, like that. So if I'm here and I press tab, it goes to shared notes, and I press enter on my keyboard. Really, it's supposed to click on this link and open it up like that. So that is how some people navigate websites. Okay. So there are two concepts that are very important to helping people living with disabilities to easily access your website. The first one is the concept of skip links. So many websites have large navigation bars. They have large navigation bars. Therefore, tabbing through, that is pressing tab to go to the different parts of the website. Tabbing through these links for keyboard users can be tedious, can be very tedious. Now, the skip link allows users to jump directly to the contents of the page. So you give a heading element. You give a heading element for the content an ID attribute. Then a hyperlink at the very top of the page links directly to this heading element. So you remember the example we gave earlier of in-page links. So to create skip links, you use in-page links, so that a person doesn't have to scroll to heading 2. They can just click a hyperlink and be taken to that heading 2. So that is what we call skip links. So the user does not have to tab through all the navigation options. They can just click on that and it goes there. Then many sites use CSS to visually hide the skip links so that screen readers, for example, will still read these links out as the first element on the page normally. So you can hide skip links by using the display hide CSS property. The other important concept here is the concept of access keys. Access keys are simply keyboard shortcuts that you can use to access or click on particular links. The access key attribute is used to associate a specific key with a hyperlink. So inside the anchor element, you use the access key attribute and give it some value. Now normally this particular hyperlink, for it to be clicked, you have to press this access key together with a modifier key. Modifier keys include Shift, Alt, Control, etc., etc. So for example, if you are in Firefox, to use an access key, you need to press Shift, Alt, and the access key. So for example, Shift plus Alt plus C to click on careers. Otherwise, in Internet Explorer and in Chrome, you use Alt. So Alt plus the access key. So Alt C will click on the careers hyperlink. So that is what we call an access key. We have several challenges with access keys. One of them you just saw in the previous slide, that different browsers use different modifier keys. So users find it challenging to know which one sometimes. Then we also have conflict with browser shortcuts. So we know that we have different browser shortcuts like Control T to open a new tab, Control N to open a new window. So if you're not careful, you can conflict with those browser shortcut keys. Okay, so solution to that, access keys often use numbers to avoid such issues. So you use a number instead of a letter. Okay, then the other challenge is, how does the user know? How does the user know that I'm supposed to use C to click on careers? How does the user know about that access key? So we have several strategies. Number one, you can provide a list of hyperlinks and their access keys. So you provide something like a menu that shows that if you want to click on this, you can use Alt plus A. So something like that. Otherwise, you can use CSS to underline a specific letter in the link text. I think if you used earlier versions of some of the programs, normally we have this strategy where you underline a specific letter in order to show the people that they can be able to use that as the shortcut key. For example, I think in Word or something, I think Word has that. Let's see. Okay, I just want a blank one. We don't have it. No. Okay. We don't have it nowadays, but in some earlier versions of Word, for example, they would underline O, for example, or I, for example, to say that if you do Control I, then it's going to open up this menu. They'll underline D. If you do Control D on your keyboard, it opens up the design menu. So something like that. So that's the other strategy you can use to make users aware of the access keys. Then the other one is you can indicate the access key after the hyperlink. So after the content of the hyperlink, you specify the access key, maybe in brackets. Maybe put it in brackets A. So a person will know if I do Alt A, then it's going to click on this hyperlink. So those are the strategies of overcoming that challenge. How does the user know what the access key is? Okay. Then we now look at the concept of the tab order. Tab order, tab order, tab order. Now, tab index attribute can be used to override the default tabbing order in a browser. The default tabbing order in a browser. Now, generally, when you press tab on your keyboard, if you are here, you're here. You press tab, it goes here. You press tab again, it takes you here. You press tab again, it takes you here. So you can see that the tab order is being executed element after element. But if you want to change the tab order, so here the tab order for this one is 0, this one 1, the tab index by default 0, 1, 2, 3, like that. So if you, for example, use the tab index attribute here, tab index value 10. So you've changed the order. So if you press tab, it's gonna go here. If this is if you've not included the tab index because this one is 0, tab again, it goes here. Tab again, it goes here because now this is number 2. Tab again, if you get to number 10, then that is when it is gonna come here. So tab index attribute also has problems because it can be confusing for the user if their tabbing jumps them in an expected order. But there might be cases where you need to use the tab index. There must be cases where you might need to use the tab index. One of them, by the way, is in forms. In forms, you want, if the user fills the first name, they press tab, you want it to go to the surname, for example, or something like that. After they're done with the surname, you want it to go to the other. So you can use the tab index to determine how the NINI moves about. How the tabbing will move that about. Okay, we're almost done. So mobile devices and hyperlinks. So we know that many users use mobile devices and they normally experience similar problems such as disabled users because navigating is through the keypad. So skip links can be useful to help them navigate through that easy. Then you can also use access keys. You can also use access keys, and it's recommended that you use numbers when you're using access keys, and you use it consistently in order to make the site easier to use. So ladies and gentlemen, you can read more about the things we've talked about here on this particular resources. So that is the end about hyperlinks, unless someone has a question. Question? Okay. Asanteni
I
sana.
think there is no question. Everything was clear. Only that maybe you can share the notes also with the classes you have covered.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.